Welcome to Old Worth Coin Ultimate Destination for the fascinating world of coin collecting. If you love rare coins, valuable coins, mint errors, and incredible historical stories hidden in everyday money, you've come to the right place. On this channel, we explore coins from every era. Coins that might seem ordinary at first, but some of them could be worth thousands of dollars today. From surprising mint errors to rare Washington quarters and other treasures, we uncover the secrets that make these coins truly extraordinary. Ever wondered if your coin jar holds a hidden fortune? Or if a quarter from decades ago could turn out to be a collector's dream? We dive deep into the stories, history, and values behind coins that are still hiding in everyday collections. Our top 4 Washington quarter dollars videos are just the beginning of the amazing discoveries waiting for you. So don't miss out. Hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe now to join our community of coin hunters. Every coin has a story, and who knows, the next rare find could be yours. So let's get started. First up, imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple quarter. To most people, it's just 25 cents, something to spend on a snack, drop into a parking meter, or toss into a jar at home. But what if that ordinary-looking coin had a hidden story? A story that collectors around the world are searching for every single day. Today we're uncovering the mystery behind the 1974 Washington quarter with no mint mark, a coin that millions of people have held without realizing it might carry hidden value. And by the end of the story, you might be running to check every quarter you own. The Washington quarter has been part of American life for generations. First introduced in 1932 to celebrate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the coin quickly became one of the most recognizable pieces of currency in the United States. On the front, you see the powerful profile of the nation's first president, facing left with the word liberty above his head and the famous motto, "In God We Trust," beside him. Flip the coin over and you'll see a proud eagle with its wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, symbolizing strength and peace. For decades, this design traveled through the hands of millions of Americans. By the time 1974 arrived, the United States Mint was producing enormous numbers of quarters to keep up with demand. Coins were struck at multiple facilities, including the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Most collectors know that coins often carry a small letter called a mint mark that tells you where the coin was made. For example, a D means the coin came from Denver. But here's where the 1974 quarter becomes interesting. Coins struck in Philadelphia did not include a mint mark at all. That means the coin simply shows the date, 1974, with nothing next to it. At first, that might sound completely normal, and in many ways it is. Millions of 1974 quarters without mint marks were produced. But within that huge number of coins, a few rare and unusual pieces slipped through the minting process. These rare varieties are what excite coin collectors and drive the value of certain coins far beyond their face value. One of the biggest reasons collectors search for the 1974 quarter is the possibility of mint errors. When coins are produced at high speed inside the mint, even the smallest mechanical issue can create a unique coin. Sometimes the design is struck slightly off-center, leaving part of the coin blank. Other times the metal blank might be clipped, creating a coin with a missing curved edge. There are even coins where foreign objects briefly interfered with the striking process, leaving unusual marks or textures on the coin surface. Another exciting possibility is something known as a double die error. This happens when the die used to stamp the coin receives a doubled impression during its creation. The result can cause letters or numbers on the coin to appear slightly doubled. On certain 1974 quarters, collectors have noticed doubling in the date or in the letters of liberty. To someone glancing quickly, the coin might look normal, but under magnification, the doubling becomes visible, and that small detail can make a huge difference in value. Condition is another major factor that determines how valuable a coin might be. Most quarters spend years moving through pockets, wallets, vending machines, and cash registers. Over time, this heavy circulation causes the design to wear down. Washington's hair becomes smooth, the eagle's feathers lose detail, and the coin develops scratches and dull surfaces. But occasionally, a coin survives in remarkable condition. Maybe it sat untouched in a bankroll for decades, Or maybe someone saved it carefully, without realizing its potential value. These uncirculated coins still have their original shine, known as mint luster, and their details remain sharp and crisp. When collectors find a 1974 Washington quarter with no mint mark in this kind of condition, the value can jump dramatically. Professional coin grading services evaluate coins using a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the number, the closer the coin is to perfect condition. While most circulated 1974 quarters are only worth their face value, a top-grade uncirculated example can sell for hundreds of dollars at auction. And if the coin also features a rare mint error or variety, the price can climb even higher. What makes this coin especially fascinating is how ordinary it appears. Unlike ancient coins or rare gold pieces locked away in museums, the 1974 quarter is a coin that people used every day. It passed through grocery stores, gas stations, arcades, and restaurants. Children carried them in their pockets for lunch money. Adults used them in laundromats and parking meters. Yet somewhere among those millions of coins, a few special ones quietly entered circulation. Imagine the journey of one of these coins. It might have been struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1974 and placed into a bank roll along with hundreds of others. From there, it could have traveled across the country, moving from one person to another for decades. Maybe it sat forgotten in a jar on a kitchen shelf, or maybe it ended up in a collection without anyone noticing its rarity. Years later, a curious collector might finally examine it closely and realize it isn't just another quarter. It's a rare variety worth far more than 25 cents. Stories like this are exactly why coin collecting continues to captivate people around the world. The thrill of discovery is always possible. Unlike many collectibles that require expensive purchases, coin collecting often begins with something incredibly simple: checking the coins you already have. If you want to search for a 1974 Washington quarter with no mint mark, there are a few things you can do. Start by examining the date on the front of the coin. Make sure it clearly reads 1974. Next, look beside Washington's ponytail to see if there is a mint mark. If you see a D, the coin came from Denver. But if there is no letter at all, then the coin was minted in Philadelphia. After that, inspect the coin carefully under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Look for unusual details like doubling in the letters or numbers, strange marks that could indicate a mint error, or parts of the design that appear off-center. Even small differences can make a coin far more interesting to collectors. Also pay close attention to the coin's condition. Does it still shine when you tilt it in the light? Are the details on Washington's hair sharp and clear? Are the feathers of the eagle still visible? Coins with strong details and minimal wear are always more desirable. The amazing thing is that coins like this can still be found today. People regularly discover valuable coins in everyday change, old piggy banks, or jars filled with coins collected over many years. Sometimes the most valuable discoveries happen when someone simply decides to take a closer look at something they've had for a long time. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple quarter. To most people, it's just 25 cents, something you might use for a vending machine, a parking meter, or a quick purchase at a store. But what if that small coin hiding among your loose change had a secret history, a story connected to one of the most unusual periods in American coin production? And what if that same coin could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the right collector? Today we're diving deep into the fascinating mystery of the 1966 Washington quarter with no mint mark, a coin that millions of people have handled over the years without realizing its hidden significance. To understand why the 1966 quarter is so interesting, we have to go back to the mid-1960s, a time when the United States faced a serious coin shortage. Across the country, people were hoarding coins. The reason was simple. Older quarters were made from 90% silver, and as silver prices began to rise, those coins suddenly became more valuable than their face value. Instead of spending them, people started saving them. Coin jars filled up. Collectors grabbed as many silver coins as they could, and businesses struggled to find enough change to operate normally. The government knew something had to change. In 1965, a historic decision was made. The United States Mint removed silver from the quarter and replaced it with a copper-nickel-clad composition. This new design had layers of copper and nickel, which made the coin durable but far less valuable in terms of metal content. The goal was to stop hoarding and keep coins circulating in everyday commerce. But the government took another unusual step at the same time. To discourage collectors from pulling coins out of circulation, the U.S. Mint made the surprising decision to remove mint marks entirely from coins produced between 1965 and 1967. Normally, coins carry a small letter showing where they were minted, like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But during this 3-year period, all coins were released without any mint mark at all. That means the 1966 Washington quarter looks slightly different from many other coins. If you examine the front of the coin closely, you'll see the date 1966, the portrait of George Washington, and the familiar inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust. But next to the date, where you might expect a small mint letter, there's absolutely nothing. The coin appears plain, and that missing detail is part of what makes it so fascinating. At first glance, the 1966 quarter might seem extremely common. After all, the Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins during that year to solve the nationwide shortage. They flooded into circulation, moving quickly from banks to stores and into the hands of everyday Americans. People used them to buy food, ride buses, play arcade games, and pay parking meters. For most people, it was simply another coin in their pocket. But here's where the story becomes exciting. Whenever coins are produced in such enormous quantities, small mistakes can occur during the minting process. Inside the mint, powerful presses strike coins at incredible speeds, sometimes hundreds every minute. With machines moving that quickly, even a tiny error can produce a coin that looks different from the rest. These unusual coins are known as mint errors, and collectors around the world are constantly searching for them. Some 1966 quarters have been discovered with off-center strikes, where the design appears shifted to one side because the metal blank was not perfectly aligned during the strike. Others show die cracks, thin lines that appear on the coin when the metal die begins to wear or crack under pressure. There are also clipped planchet errors, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing because the metal sheet was cut incorrectly before striking. One of the most fascinating possibilities involves double die varieties. A double die occurs when the design used to create the coin is accidentally impressed more than once at slightly different angles. This causes certain letters or numbers on the coin to appear doubled. On rare coins, collectors may notice doubling in the word Liberty, the date 1966, or even within smaller details of the design. These subtle differences might be invisible at first glance, but under magnification they become clear, and they can transform an ordinary quarter into a valuable collectible. Condition is another major factor that can dramatically affect a coin's value. Most quarters from 1966 were heavily circulated. They spent decades passing from one person to another, bouncing around in pockets and cash registers. Over time, the details of the design begin to wear down. Washington's hair becomes smoother, the eagle's feathers lose sharpness, and the coin's surface may develop scratches or discoloration. But occasionally, a coin survives in remarkable condition. Perhaps it was stored in a bank roll and never circulated. Maybe someone saved it in a coin collection decades ago. These coins are known as uncirculated coins, and they often retain their original mint luster, the bright shine that coins have when they are first struck. When collectors find a 1966 Washington quarter in exceptional condition, its value can increase significantly. Professional grading services evaluate coins using a scale from 1 to 70, with higher numbers representing better condition. A top-grade 1966 quarter that looks almost perfect can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction, simply because so few coins from that year survived in such pristine shape. And there's another intriguing possibility that excites collectors even more. During the transition from silver coins to clad coins in the mid-1960s, a few extremely rare transitional errors may have occurred. In some cases, coins from that era were accidentally struck on the wrong type of metal planchet. Imagine discovering a 1966 quarter that was somehow struck on a leftover silver blank from earlier years. Such a coin would be incredibly rare, and potentially worth a fortune to collectors. These rare possibilities are exactly why coin hunters, continue searching through their change today. Every day, people around the world examine coins hoping to discover something special. Some collectors buy rolls of coins from banks and carefully check each one. Others search through old jars of change stored in closets or drawers. Estate sales, flea markets, and antique shops also reveal forgotten coins that have been hidden away for decades. And every once in a while, someone makes an incredible discovery. There have been stories of people finding valuable coins in the most unexpected places, inside old piggy banks, at the bottom of desk drawers, or mixed into everyday pocket change. What makes coin collecting so exciting is that the next discovery could happen anywhere. The 1966 Washington quarter, with no mint mark, perfectly represents this idea. It's not an ancient treasure locked in a museum. It's a coin that millions of people used every day. Yet within that ordinary appearance lies the possibility of rarity, history, and hidden value. If you want to check whether you might have one of these coins, start with the simple step. Look at the date on the front of the quarter. If it reads 1966, you're already on the right track. Next, check the area near the date. You'll notice that there is no mint mark at all, a characteristic shared by all quarters from that unusual period between 1965 and 1967. After that, take a closer look at the details. Use a magnifying glass or strong light to examine the lettering and numbers. Look for doubling, unusual marks, cracks, or anything that appears different from a typical coin. Also evaluate the coin's condition. Coins with bright luster and sharp details are much more valuable than worn examples. If your coin appears unusual or exceptionally well preserved, it might be worth having it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. Experts can determine whether the coin contains a genuine mint error and assign it an official grade that helps establish its market value. And that's when the real surprise can happen, because somewhere out there, hidden in drawers, jars, and forgotten collections, rare 1966 quarters are still waiting to be discovered. Coins that once bought a candy bar or a bus ride might now be worth hundreds, or even thousands of dollars. The story of the 1966 Washington quarter with no mint mark reminds us that sometimes the most ordinary objects carry extraordinary histories. A coin that seems common at first glance might actually be part of a unique moment in American history. When silver disappeared from circulating coins, mint marks temporarily vanished, and millions of new quarters entered the economy. Coming next up, imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a quarter, and almost tossing it aside without a second thought. After all, it's just 25 cents, something most people barely notice. But what if that ordinary-looking coin carried a secret that collectors have been searching for decades? What if a quarter from the early 1980s, one you might still find in your change today, could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? Today we're uncovering the fascinating story behind the 1983 P. Washington quarter, a coin that experts once overlooked but collectors now hunt with incredible excitement. To understand why this coin has become so special, we need to go back to the early 1980s. The United States was going through a challenging economic period. Inflation had shaken the economy, and the U.S. Mint was dealing with tight budgets and changing priorities. In 1983, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Washington quarters, each marked with a small P mint mark on the front of the coin. That tiny letter indicated the coin was struck in Philadelphia, something that had only become standard practice a few years earlier. For decades, Philadelphia coins didn't include mint marks at all, but by the 1980s the Mint had begun adding the P to identify its coins. At first glance, the 1983 P. Washington quarter appears completely normal. The front shows the familiar portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Above his head is the word Liberty, and beside him appears the motto, "In God We Trust." Beneath the portrait sits the date, 1983. On the reverse side, the powerful eagle spreads its wings wide while clutching arrows and olive branches, a design that had symbolized American strength and peace for decades. Millions of these coins were produced and released into circulation. People used them to buy groceries, pay for parking, and feed vending machines. They moved quickly through the economy, passing from one pocket to another without anyone paying close attention. To most Americans at the time, They were simply everyday coins. But here's where the story becomes fascinating. Unlike many other years, 1983 was a unique year for collectors because the U.S. Mint did not release official uncirculated mint sets for collectors. Normally, the Mint would produce special sets of brand new coins that people could purchase and preserve in perfect condition. These mint sets allowed collectors to obtain pristine examples of coins from each year. However, due to budget decisions and other challenges, the Mint skipped producing those sets in 1983. That small decision created a huge ripple effect in the world of coin collecting. Because no official Mint sets were released, collectors had far fewer opportunities to obtain high-quality uncirculated examples of the 1983 P quarter. Most of the coins produced that year went straight into circulation, where they quickly picked up scratches, wear, and damage from everyday use. Over time, this made high-grade coins from 1983 surprisingly difficult to find. Today, when collectors search for the 1983 P Washington quarter, they're not just looking for any coin. They're searching for coins in exceptional condition. A heavily worn coin from that year might still only be worth face value, but a well-preserved example with strong details and bright mint luster can be worth significantly more. Professional coin grading companies examine coins under magnification and assign them a grade on a scale from 1 to 70. Coins graded in the higher mint state ranges, especially MS-65, MS-66, or higher, are much harder to find from the year 1983 because so few were saved in pristine condition. In fact, top-graded examples of the 1983 P Washington quarter have sold for hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars at auction. That's an incredible jump from just 25 cents, all because of rarity and condition. But condition isn't the only thing collectors watch for. Just like many other coins, the 1983 P quarter can sometimes appear with mint errors. These errors occur during the minting process when something unusual happens while the coin is being struck. For example, some coins might show off-center strikes, where the design appears shifted to one side. Others may have die cracks, where thin raised lines appear on the surface because the die used to strike the coin had begun to crack. There are also cases of double strikes, where a coin is struck more than once by the press, creating a dramatic overlapping design. Occasionally, coins are struck on damaged or clipped planchets, leaving a missing piece along the edge. Each of these unusual features creates a unique coin that collectors love to discover. Imagine the journey of one of these coins. It may have been struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1983, sliding down a production line with thousands of other quarters. From there, it could have traveled through banks and businesses, eventually landing in someone's pocket change. Over the years, it might have been used in arcades, laundromats, or parking meters. Decades later, it could still be circulating quietly among ordinary coins. Now imagine a collector examining that coin carefully under bright light, noticing something unusual about it. A perfect shine, a rare error, or a detail that most people would miss. In that moment, the ordinary quarter becomes something extraordinary. This is exactly why coin collecting remains so exciting today. The thrill of discovery never disappears. Unlike many valuable collectibles that are locked away in private collections, coins are still moving through everyday transactions. That means the next rare find could be waiting in a cash register, a coin jar, or even the bottom of your wallet. Coming next up, imagine digging through a jar of old coins, sitting quietly on a shelf in your home. Most people see nothing more than spare change, quarters, dimes, pennies that have been forgotten for years. But what if one of those ordinary coins carried a hidden story? A story that collectors across the country are still searching for today. What if a simple quarter from the early 1980s could be worth far more than 25 cents? Today we're uncovering the fascinating mystery of the 1982 Washington quarter with the P Mint mark, a coin that many people overlook for decades, but has quietly become one of the most interesting modern quarters for collectors. To understand why this coin matters, we need to travel back to the year 1982. The United States was facing economic uncertainty. Inflation had shaken the economy during the late 1970s, and government budgets were tight. Even the United States Mint had to make difficult financial decisions. During that year, the Mint produced millions of Washington quarters at several facilities, including the Philadelphia Mint. Coins from Philadelphia carried a small P mint mark on the front of the coin, just to the right of George Washington's ponytail. That small letter confirmed the coin's birthplace. At first glance, the 1982 P. Washington quarter looks exactly like the quarters people had been using for decades. On the front, the familiar portrait of George Washington appears strong and dignified. Above his head is the word Liberty, while the famous motto, "In God We Trust," sits beside his profile. The date 1982 appears below, marking the year the coin entered circulation. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the powerful eagle design, its wings spread wide while holding arrows and olive branches, symbolizing both strength and peace. It's a design Americans had trusted since the 1930s. Millions of these coins were struck and released into circulation. They traveled quickly through the economy, appearing in grocery stores, vending machines, parking meters, and laundromats. Most people never gave them a second thought. To them, a quarter was just a quarter. But something unusual happened in 1982, something that would later make this coin surprisingly important to collectors. That year, the United States Mint did not release its traditional uncirculated mint sets. Normally, collectors could purchase official sets containing brand new coins from each mint. These sets allowed people to preserve coins in pristine condition straight from the mint. But due to financial constraints and changing priorities, the mint skipped producing those sets in 1982. At the time, most people didn't realize how significant that decision would become. Because there were no official mint sets, collectors had far fewer opportunities to obtain fresh, untouched examples of the 1982 P quarter. Most coins went straight into circulation, where they quickly began to pick up scratches, wear, and damage. Over time, this created an unusual situation. Although millions of these coins were produced, high-quality examples became surprisingly difficult to find. Fast forward several decades, and collectors began noticing something interesting. When grading companies evaluated coins from 1982, they found that very few survived in exceptional condition. Most coins from that year showed heavy wear from years of circulation. Finding a coin that still had bright mint luster and sharp details became increasingly rare. This is where the story of the 1982 P quarter becomes exciting. Professional coin grading services evaluate coins using a scale from 1 to 70. Coins in the higher ranges, known as mint state grades, are considered uncirculated and extremely well preserved. For the 1982 P. Washington quarter, high-grade examples such as MS-65, MS-66, or higher can command impressive prices in the collector market. In fact, some top-graded coins have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Imagine that, an ordinary quarter turning into a valuable collectible simply because it survived in excellent condition. But that's not the only reason collectors search for this coin. Just like many coins produced in large quantities, the 1982 P quarter sometimes appears with fascinating mint errors. During the minting process, powerful machines strike coins at incredible speeds. Even the smallest mechanical issue can produce unusual results. Some coins may have off-center strikes, where the design appears shifted to one side. Others may display die cracks, thin raised lines caused by tiny fractures in the die used to strike the coin. There are also coins with double strikes, where the coin is struck more than once by the press, creating overlapping images. Occasionally, collectors discover coins struck on damaged or clipped planchets, leaving part of the edge missing. Each of these errors transforms an ordinary coin into something unique, and collectors love unique coins. Imagine the journey of one of these quarters. It may have been struck in Philadelphia in 1982 and placed into a bank roll with hundreds of other coins. From there, it could have traveled across the country, passing through countless hands. Maybe it was used to buy snacks at a convenience store in the 1980s. Perhaps it sat inside a parking meter in the 1990s. Maybe it was dropped into an arcade machine by a teenager decades ago. Over time, the coin might have ended up forgotten in a drawer or mixed into a jar of spare change. For years, no one paid attention to it. Yet the entire time, it could have been a high-grade example or a rare mint error waiting to be discovered. This possibility is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. The next valuable discovery could be hiding almost anywhere, in an old piggy bank, a family coin jar, or even the change you receive from a store. If you want to check whether you might have a valuable 1982 P. Washington quarter, there are a few things collectors recommend looking for. First, examine the date on the coin. Make sure it clearly reads 1982. Next, look to the right of Washington's ponytail and check for the P mint mark, indicating the coin was struck in Philadelphia. After that, study the coin carefully under good lighting. Look for unusual features such as doubling in the letters, strange lines that could indicate die cracks, or parts of the design that appear off-center. Also pay close attention to the coin's condition. Coins with strong details, minimal scratches, and bright shine are far more valuable than worn examples. If you believe your coin might be special, collectors often recommend having it examined by a professional grading service. Experts can confirm the coin's authenticity, identify any mint errors, and assign it an official grade that determines its value in the market. And sometimes, that's when the real surprise happens. Because somewhere out there, hidden among millions of ordinary coins, rare 1982 P. Washington quarters are still waiting to be found. Coins that once bought a soda or a bus ride might now be worth hundreds of dollars or more to collectors searching for the best examples. The story of the 1982 P. Washington quarter reminds us that valuable treasures don't always look extraordinary. Sometimes they appear exactly like the coins we use every day. But with a little curiosity and a closer look, those ordinary coins can reveal remarkable histories. So the next time you receive a quarter in your change, don't rush to spend it. Turn it over in your hand. Look at the date. Check the mint mark. Study the details. Because the coin you almost ignored might be the hidden treasure collectors have been searching for.